Black Circle family, we are back for another episode and I am here with the Puff Puff Queens. I have two guests with me today on the sofa and I'm here with Yossie and Marianne. Welcome.
Thanks, Zoe. Lovely to be here.
Lovely to have you here. And I know we've been having a good old chat off screen, but we're going to get into some of the juicy parts of our conversation. And I'm looking forward to this because I'm such a dessert freak, by the way. And I think freak, yeah, I'll go with that. I love dessert. So this is like a dream come true talking about this and your journey that you guys, so you're the first ever dedicated West African dessert business. And I know that it started in 2020.
Yeah.
But let's just let everybody know what a brief explanation of what a Puff Puff is.
Yeah. So, do you want to take I can take this one. So we like to say that, Puff Puff is a traditional West African fried dough ball. Mm-hmm. So around the world, you have some variation of fried dough wherever you go. So Puff Puff is West Africa's own version. It's typically a street snack. So normally you'd find it, people on the street side selling Puff Puff across Lagos and other parts of the continent. So it just generally has flour, sugar, yeast, cinnamon, nutmeg. You mix all that with water, fry it, like super simple recipe, but it tastes really good. And it's just typically eaten at parties and events and so on.
Yeah, and like you said, it exists in variations across the world. And so for us, when we know that Puff Puff is the West African or the Nigerian name, but there's so many different names across the world. Yeah. And so we also started a Puff Puff glossary on our website so people can get a sense of what Puff Puff is in their own culture. That was our way of making sure that we're taking this Nigerian snack into the
back, because I know the origin started in Lagos and you had a family bakery. So talk us through that and kind of the origin of it.
Yeah. So our mom ran a bakery. So we come from a long line of entrepreneurs. Our grandfather, he was a corporate man. He was a teacher. He was a banker, but he also had a bookshop in the compound when we grew up. So we come from a long line of entrepreneurs. Even our mom's side of the family, entrepreneurs as well. But our mom was that core person that we saw as children running a business. She had worked in journalism. She was a very accomplished professional. And then she was made redundant, and then she was like, gosh, what do I do? And so she started selling cakes, and that turned into a massive bakery in the back of our home in Nigeria. And as kids, we'll, after school, run to the bakery, we're molding bread, we're slicing bread, we're sort of doing the markings on the bread, we're piping cookies, we're making cakes, we're bagging things, we're, sealing things, we're working in the shop as well, selling to people. But
it was fun as well. We also had Yossie's listing all these different tasks that children. But for me, anyway, I mean, I definitely was the most I was doing was I'll put a sticker on a plastic bag and then I'll go get some ice cream from the freezer.
Right. I feel like we all.
You and Fala. What about other sisters?
But only because I guess for us that was, as children, right? That was our activity.
It was
you go to school, you come back home, and it's like, well, we're not going into the streets running around, so let's just go into the bakery. We had a real relationship with all the different members of staff who worked for our mom. Yeah. So even Christmas time, would help them. She had two shops, one in the house and one somewhere else near the house. So we'll go there, we'll help them. She used to deliver supply supermarkets across Lagos. So this is how massive a business it was.
Right.
So so that's our family legacy of entrepreneurship. So that's it. It was just a no-brainer for us.
I know you were saying it's not child labour. It was literally you seeing each other. Your mum basically teaching you entrepreneurial skills.
Yeah.
And I think I had a previous guest on, Julian. He was his foundation is to teach kids entrepreneurship. And we kind of negate how intelligent that children really are. So this has really kind of set off your trajectory in a massive way. So and in a playful way, and it didn't feel like a chore, but you was learning as you went, which is really good, which is amazing.
Exactly. Yeah. So imagine sales skills, actual, hardcore skills, making. I mean, not all of us bake now, but we have a sense of, if we wanted to make bread, we can do it. If we wanted to pipe cookies, we can do it, make cupcakes, because we grew up in that space. But even beyond the baking skills, I think, as you say, it's just the business skills. How do you sell? How do you deal with customers? How do you deal with employees? Yeah. How do you deal with challenging situations? How do you grow a business? How do you scale? So we've seen all those things from a young age. And apart from the bakery, there were even other things. My dad once started a transport business. So our family is basically
that entrepreneurs,
tested.
always doing the most.
We're always that most. Basically, that's just it. Doing the most.
I love that. And Marianne, you both recently appeared on Audi's Next Best Thing. So it's like the Channel 4 version of, I think, like Dragon's Den or MasterChef.
Yeah.
So talk us through that experience.
Yeah, so it was actually quite interesting for us because we were just going about our day, minding our business, and then we got an email that was inviting us to come on this show. And we were like, I'm not sure about that, because for us, the vision has always been to open a physical shop where people can come and enjoy Puff Puff the way we believe it should be enjoyed primarily. Because for us, it's about bringing that experience to the UK, and we want to just get people to come and like feel what it's like, almost like you're in West Africa. Yeah. So like, and the best way to do that ultimately is through a physical shop. So even though we did start off doing postal boxes because it was lockdown, that's what we had to do. That was how we wanted to get the word out there and get people to enjoy it. The goal was always to have that physical shop, and it still is to have that physical shop. So we didn't really think that a supermarket was something that we should be focusing on at this stage. So initially we turned it down because we felt like it just wasn't the right approach for us. Plus, we had a few conversations with them as well. They were trying to craft, worried about the perception that, or the message that they were trying to craft around Puff Puff, like, you know, and around our business. Like, we were asked questions like, is there any traditional attire that you want to wear, for example? And we're like,
right, what has that got to do with what we're doing here?
So we just weren't really sure if going on national TV with our West African heritage product, with us also being West African heritage, if that was the right platform to tell our story, or if there were like other angles that they wanted to take with it. So a lot of it was just quite uncertain beyond even just the whole supermarket element. But we had a chat with our mum in the end, and we actually decided that it was worth a shot, because ultimately our goal is to make Puff Puff well known in the UK, to make it one of the UK's favourite desserts. Right. And what better way of doing that than to be stocked in 1,000 Aldi supermarkets across the country. And what we also then did was we asked for a call with the production team, and we're like, look, we were worried about any preconceived notions you're trying to present on the show, and this is not what we do. Like, we've never. So one of the questions was, oh, do you think you can present Puff Puff like it's served as a street snack? But the thing about Puff Puff Ministry is we're trying to show that Puff Puff can be like brownies and cookies and cupcakes. We're not going to serve it in a newspaper because we've never done that. So why would we start now? So we just had to make it really clear to them, this is our story, this is why we exist, this is how we present ourselves. And if I'm not wearing Nigerian clothing on a random Wednesday in London, why would I do it all of a sudden for TV? You know, so that was weird.
It's painting a narrative, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think we spoke about this earlier. It's just this kind of the British media. And you know, our experiences as people of colour in that and experience spaces.
Yes,
it's a very real thing. It really does exist, and you've had first-hand experience of it now.
Yeah, honestly, the biggest lesson for us was, and I would say this to anyone as well who's going through this experience or who's been given the opportunity to be on TV, is you need to stand your ground. Right. You need to make it so clear who you are
and what you stand
and yeah, because you represent your business. And the thing is, we weren't even like upset with them so much because we understand that they're trying to make TV because that's their job. But our job is to accurately represent our brand and ourselves.
Absolutely.
And so it was just like a different angle really that they were trying to take, and we're like, no, we're not doing that.
Can we bring it back?
Let's just bring it back down to reality. But like, so once we crossed, experience of going on that show has been incredible. The thing for me, everything was great, and the experience of going on that show has been incredible. The thing for me, again, I think because of that experience of, you know, worrying about preconceived notions, I wasn't sure. I was actually quite nervous, like on the day it was airing. Like me and Yossie were like, I don't think I want to watch it. I felt sick.
Oh no!
I was like, oh my goodness! Like we have no idea what they want to show, and it was going to be national.
How it would be edited.
Yeah, we had no idea how that was going to look.
We had a whole plan. Like even the last day of filming, we sat on the train going back to London, and we were like, okay, whichever way it goes, this is our plan. So we were on it from day one.
Yeah.
And so we thought, okay, look, it's gonna air. Whatever happens, we've got our plan. So if this happens, we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
If this happens, we know what we're doing. So yeah, we just had a plan because we're just really nervous because there were so many things that happened. And luckily, I mean, they cut out a lot.
Right.
From the final episode because we were very surprised. Oh, that
didn't make it. Oh, that didn't make it.
Honestly,
that
episode,
yeah, there were so many things. There was something you said that you were like, oh my goodness, it came out the wrong way, and we're like, I hope they don't keep this in because that's going to be horrible.
Yeah. Honestly, I was shocked, and it just got me thinking, okay, maybe there is something about standing your ground, because one thing about that episode when it came out was it was better than I would have ever.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Like,
Okay,
I was
yeah.
100% happy with how they edited that in the end. Like, shout out to that team behind the editing, because they nailed it. Like, the way they told our story was incredible. And I think for me, what just gave me goosebumps was when it went live, and even before it went live, because we shared on our socials that, you know, we're going to be on TV tomorrow, and the response from our community online was just incredible. And it actually just made us think, hang on, maybe people actually do want puff-puff in supermarkets. So, hey,
definitely.
maybe it's going to happen, because I did not expect that. Because when we launched, one of the biggest challenges that we faced when we started the business, because it was a postal business and people are typically used to eating puff-puff fresh. Yeah. You know, your mom makes it at home, or, you know, an auntie brings it to church or whatever else. Everyone was like, can you post puff-puff? Why would you post puff-puff? It's not going to be the same. So it's funny, actually, 4 years now since we launched Puff-Puff Ministry, 4 years in August this year. It's funny, I think there's actually been a shift, because at the start, there was a lot of doubt about why would someone order puff-puff and get it the next day? Right. It's meant to be eaten fresh. To now then see the reaction from us being on TV, pitching to Aldi, and people saying, Aldi, please stock puff-puff. And when the show came out and people were like, oh, Aldi missed out on a big opportunity, I would have gone to Aldi to buy puff-puff. I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Wait, is that a spoiler alert?
I mean, the show, it kind of is. I mean, the show has gone out, but like, you can watch it on demand. But I mean, we don't have to like include that.
I said anyway that we didn't.
Yeah, if you go on our socials, you can see
the outcome of it, right?
But but you can also, like, you know, if you don't want to share that as well, that's fine.
But just, I guess, like, what was, you know, the response? You were saying it was fantastic, but how have you seen like the tangible measurements of the response?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, it's been fantastic. On the day itself, so again, part of our plan was someone needs to be on the website tracking orders. We need to close it when we get sold out on each day. And I think we had over 1,000 people viewing our website.
There was a point in that evening where we had 1,200 people on our website.
So it just spiked right up.
It just went up. And we had the orders coming in. Initially, it was like sort of trickling slowly, just maybe one here, two here. And then I think we got to the midpoint of the episode.
Yes.
I think maybe when we made it through the first...
Yeah, because what happens is you go in, so there's 6 businesses and all of you have to pitch. And then Aldi, the managing director of buying at Aldi, she selects 2 businesses to go to the finals. Now, bear in mind, we're making Puff-Puff, small scale, 1 day a week. Some businesses out there, they already are producing massive volumes. We did not at all expect to make it to the finals. Like, when you watch the show, you will literally see our faces when they called our names as finalists. I was like, what?
Yeah.
That mistake.
Didn't feel real. Because, I mean, you've got a fantastic product. You've got a strong, team with you. So why was you so surprised?
Well, the thing is, I mean, like Marianne said, look, the business is there. Like, there was one business, we've developed a really good relationship with them. Is it
Kyle?
Yes.
Jam and Vegan.
Jam and Vegan. Yeah. Like, Kyle was already producing things, like, already
in a factory,
in a way where a supermarket could call today and he's ready to drop things the next day.
So they were more supermarket ready.
Right. They were way more supermarket ready, and we were just like, this is just a trip for us, you know. We're just going to go and you know, if we get sent home today, perfect.
That's fine.
That's fine. We're still going to be on TV anyway. So that was it for us, and because for us again, like the kitchen, we're producing how many units a week? Maybe 2,000 units at best. October is a busy month for us, so then we produce a lot. Christmas we produce a lot, but we were just like, look, compared to these businesses, we're really small fish.
Yeah, we're very, very, like, our production is just not at the scale compared to theirs. And so that's why we didn't expect to make it to the finals, because Aldi wanted to order 20,000 boxes.
Right.
That was the order.
20,000 boxes order.
Yeah.
Oh, 6 to 8?
6, yeah.
So that would have been... 400 and something.
That would have been a lot of work.
It's just a lot of work. And so for us, I think being there with those other businesses, we're like, these businesses are more like they're ready tomorrow to supply that type of volume. So we didn't expect it. But one thing I will say, when I thought about it more as to why they would have selected us, and I think it's everything we've said from the beginning, our business is so unique. The innovation behind what we've done, I think that story and seeing what we've built, it's anyone. And I guess this is the benefit for us, is so many people can resonate with that story. And again, seeing the response from our community after, people were literally commenting, saying, we're so proud of you. You've represented us. You've made history.
Like, absolutely, you have.
Yeah. It was, I'm getting the goosebumps. But it was just so, it makes me so emotional thinking about that response that we receive from people. Like, we don't know many of these people in real, like,
Right.
it's just internet friends. Like, we don't know them in person. And some people were DMing us with prayers, like they were literally praying for us and praying for the future of our business. Like, it's just incredible.
That is so like Caribbean, West African coded, isn't it?
Yeah.
Prayers up, and that's what I love about our community.
Yeah.
Like again, we were speaking about this earlier. I think we innately want to create community as Black people, and it's so important. And so let's actually switch gears, and I want to talk about like the cultural significance of all of this. And so, in what ways do you think showcasing West African cuisine helps bridge cultural gaps and fosters a sense of community among diaspora communities and the larger UK?
That's an interesting question, Zoe. And the reason I say that is because when we launched, we were very clear on the fact that, yes, we are Nigerian, we're West African, we're bringing a West African product to the UK, but we want to sell this product not just to our community, but to the entire country. And so, which is why going back to the idea of having that glossary was very important, because the UK is a very diverse society. You know, you've got people from different parts of the world, and they all have, while we're, you know, many of us might be British or, you know, feel like this is our home, many people still feel connected to where they originally come from. And so for us, we were like, look, we want to sell to everyone. It's not just Nigerians. And I think some people thought we're only selling to Nigerians. No, we were never only selling to Nigerians.
No, but also some people think that we're only selling to non-Nigerians.
Right.
Yeah, so because we get some people sometimes, I mean, let's just call them haters. Yeah. They accuse us of bastardizing Puff Puff, of gentrifying Puff Puff, of ruining Puff Puff. And they assume that people... I remember we had a TikTok that went viral, and we're being insulted like by random people on the internet saying that we've whitewashed Puff Puff. And the funny thing is, actually, majority of our customers are not white. Like, they're not white.
Right.
So
how?
So, you know,
so
I think people assume that we're pandering to this Western, you know, approach, but I mean, it's just not the case at all. Most customers, like we always say, our best-selling flavors are still plain cinnamon sugar.
So traditional.
Like,
Yes. Scaled back.
Exactly. So, like, there's something for everyone, no matter like where you are on that spectrum. But yes, go on.
No. So, but in terms of bridging cultural gaps, I think what it's done, and what we used to say was, we want to bring this product, like, and Marianne used to say, look, you know, you go to central London, you see Chinatown, you see different cuisines in the UK community. People love a curry, right? But we're not really seeing this uptake of West African food. Maybe jollof rice, West African restaurants here and there.
Very slowly.
But in terms of desserts, you know, everyone loves cookies, everyone loves brownies, everyone loves different kinds of churros as well. But nobody's really talking about Puff Puff as a real contender. And so we thought, look, we're going to bring this in. We don't know how it's going to go, but let's see. And it's been really amazing. Like, and I think the glossary played a really big role in the early days, because what it meant was that people could see, oh, I know what this is from my culture. I know what this is, even different African cultures as well. I know what this is from my culture. And so that was a really big thing, because it was like, yes, we're doing Puff Puff, but this is Lokma for I think, is it in Turkey? It's Lokma, it's Lokmadis in Greece. It's some Mandazi, it's Bofrot in Ghana. So people were like, oh, hang on, I know what this is. And so for us, it was really exciting that we were able to show people that, no, we're Nigerian, we're doing something with the Nigerian name, but it's not just a Nigerian business. But beyond that, in terms of the general UK audience, I think, honestly, being on Channel 4 actually probably changed our demographics slightly, because a lot of the orders that came in were for people who are, I don't think they are traditional customers.
It's so interesting being in the kitchen after the show went out. So like I said, typically when we're in the kitchen, we might get like maybe out of 40 boxes, 20 of them would be plain and cinnamon sugar. After that show went out and we got like the new orders coming in, we would get like one box that was plain or cinnamon sugar. Wow. So we saw a difference in that clientele and the audience, because now when the Brits had found out about Puff Puff Ministry from Channel 4, they were ordering Oreo white chocolate, Kinder Bueno, Biscoff, sticky toffee in like a whole box. Whereas most of our typical clientele, they will mostly have half of the boxes plain or cinnamon, because they still want that original, traditional Puff Puff taste. So that was quite interesting to see that shift in, you know, in the boxes that we were making. And so I think what's changed for us as well since we went on that show is it has completely confirmed to us that there is 100% space for Puff Puff in the UK dessert market.
And it's interesting when you brought up the example of churros.
Yes.
look how that's kind of settled into the market. It's accepted. Nobody bats an eye at it. So it stands to reason that there should be space for something like Puff Puff or a product like that.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's so interesting what you were saying about if we're looking at the shift in the orders that we're making, but also some of the comments that came through our website. I mean, proper English people saying, wow, I'm so happy to know about Puff Puff. And we were like, that is what we always wanted to do. We want a random person somewhere up north to say, I want to Puff Puff. And we had one person who messaged saying, so I think because we have a way, we ask people to pick a date. And so this person picked a date, and I think she thought it was going to come before. And she was like, oh my goodness, my kids are excited. They can't wait for this. And I think this is a proper English lady somewhere, wherever she lives. And I just felt so happy because it's like, this is what we always wanted. Right. This was the dream from day one. When we sat down in our dad's kitchen for a year thinking, but it wasn't a year. We sat down one day, we came up with a name, but we spent 1 year as a team just researching. It was always that, one day this will go beyond just North London, where our kitchen is, where our home is, to the whole country. And so, I mean, hearing people saying, wow, I'm so happy to know what Puff Puff is. I was like, oh my goodness.
And, the reason why that's really important for me as well, like personally, one thing I always say is that no matter where you're from in the world, Puff Puff tastes like home.
That's great. And yes, that's a great catchphrase. I love that.
Yeah, I will always stand by that statement because every time we've seen it happen when we do events and corporate catering. People eat it and they're like, oh, this tastes like
something.
It's
triggers something. Memories.
Yeah. So it's so nostalgic as well for us. Like there's a real emotional connection with food, and in our case with Puff Puff as well. And so I really just think it's so nice to see that. Yeah. Wherever in the world you are, you can always enjoy that familiar taste. And more importantly, though, for us, in terms of keeping that authenticity with Puff Puff, yes, we are adding toppings to Puff Puff because we're presenting it as a dessert. And so we had to select what are the typical toppings that people know and love, Oreo, Biscoff, etc. So that's why we've offered that as well. However, one thing we always said from the very beginning is that we would never compromise on the original taste of Puff Puff, because what we want is, because we're trying to raise awareness of Puff Puff, we want to make sure that when someone eats our Puff Puff in the UK and they decide to travel across Africa next year or whenever else and they eat Puff Puff on the continent, that it tastes exactly the same.
It still checks out. It's like, okay, yes, they like you said, not whitewashed the recipe in any way, shape or form. And so, actually, this kind of segues into that question about how do you navigate the balance between staying true to traditional recipes and adapting them to appeal to a broader audience. I think you've just answered that really perfectly. Yes, exactly. So let's move on. So how do you think exposure to West African cuisine influences British perceptions of African culture and identity?
That's a big question. The true answer for me personally is we don't know yet, because we're still in the early days. This is the first time that something of West African heritage is sort of being presented to the British community at a large scale like this. I know that there's been news recently. There's a what's the name of this restaurant that just
I've
seen that
on TikTok.
So, they're Nigerian. Well, some of them
Brazilian.
There's one now though. Joker.
Chishuru.
Okay.
Joker.
Yeah. So we're seeing more Nigerian, West African, food businesses come up and really get recognition. So I think we're still in the early days in terms of understanding what it means. And maybe in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, we'll start to see, if many people are going to say Akoko, Akara, it's not a novelty. Oh, that's a place where I always go every week to get my, Friday lunch because I really love it there.
That's exactly it.
That's right. When we get there, then we'll know that something has shifted. Right now, I think we're just... I think we're really in the early days.
Do you know what, Yossie? What you just said there about it's not a novelty, that's the goal.
Right.
Because like Yossie already mentioned earlier, one of the things that we see during October, which is the UK's Black History Month, that is one of our busiest times. And so what I would love is, let's be that busy in a random day in March. So I want us to shift from it being a novelty that you come to Puff or finish your all other Black owned or African heritage businesses only when you're celebrating Black History Month. Like, I want to see a world where a company is having a meeting with their clients, and instead of ordering from one of the popular donut shops in London, instead of going to Krispy Kreme's,
let's
order
get
Puff Puff,
right?
Just because. So that's the goal, and that's kind of where that's where there's still room for us to grow in that area.
And you know what? Actually, I will say, I think we're starting to see there's still a heavy sort of shift towards we're only going to book these guys in for Black History Month. However, we do have the occasional, shout out to one of our clients, Naked TV. Every month, they haven't ordered in a while.
And Salesforce.
There was a period where every month they were like, oh, we're having our regular monthly team thing. We're going to order. And they weren't ordering like a lot, maybe 5 boxes. But every month they will come back. And that's why I have to shout out to them, because they're like, look, you're not just a Black History Month business for us. You're this is our regular. And I think their managing director really loved Kinder. So it was like, okay, we need to get this on, in our order. So I think we are getting there very soon.
Also, just this week, actually, we made puff for Herman Miller. The furniture, they make these really nice chairs that everyone craves and wants. And what they were celebrating is National Donut Week. Yeah, right. And so they're doing a thing where they're exposing their employees to different types of donuts. And so that's why they ordered Puff. So that was really cool to see that, it wasn't just, oh, it's Black History Month, let's bring some Puff. And it was just they're celebrating. It still links to donuts. But again, I think we've been quite successful in bringing that, that pairing between Puff being like a donut, and we always say
he was saying that together.
I know. Do you know what? It took us a while to come up with that strap line, and
he was saying that together.
I know. Do you know what? It took us a while to come up with that strap line, and Yossie I actually want to give a shout out to Yossie here, because I am an overthinker. I want to just flesh things out a bit more before I come out with it, and Yossie was like, no, get it out, and then we will learn from the feedback.
Right.
So with that strap line, for example, I was nervous about it because we were thinking of getting branded boxes and wanted to put that strapline on top of our boxes. And I was like, Yossie, the box company has a minimum order quantity of 3,000. And you saying that you want us to order 3,000 boxes with a strapline. What if someone disagrees? What if someone it's pop up and they're like, it's not?
Because this is your brand, you own it. So
and we're making that statement. We're coming out to say these are like the Mira was like, I was like, nobody cares. We are saying that it's like the
we're telling
put
you.
it there. So if you don't believe it, that's your business. Right. We believe it. So so we just went out with it, and honestly, we haven't looked back.
Yeah.
Also, one of the things that really made me then calm down after doing, I went ahead and ordered 3,000 boxes anyway. But one thing that was really incredible to see was when people order a box of Puff and they post about it on their Instagram, they started saying, like donuts but better.
So there you go. It's got caught fire. It's got its momentum, and it's doing
people adopted that wording as well. Which for me, as I also working in marketing, I was like, nailed it.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so looking ahead, what do you envision for the future of West African food in the UK, and the role you hope Puff Ministry will play in that evolution?
Oh, I think this is a big one for us. So we've been on Channel 4. Yeah. The country knows about Puff, but it's not the end for us. The next step for us really is to actually set up Britain's first Puff Cafe. We want to have a shop in Covent Garden. So if anyone's hearing, please come and back us.
Give us investment.
Give us some money.
I can see it.
We want to have a space where, look, tourists, locals, you're going somewhere, you're like, hey, I'm going to pop into Puff Ministry, grab some Puff, grab some drinks, but sit down with your friends, maybe even a co-working space.
First
I
date,
don't know,
anything.
Come in and just sit down and chill. Because like I said, we used to do these West African food and drink meetups. We've done 2 now. Mm-hmm. And for us, it was like, this is really amazing. People love this. People come in, they just chill with their friends. Like some people will come in, they may not even buy Puff after the first one, but they're just sitting there because the music is great. Right. And you're meeting people. The atmosphere, and just that community. And so we want to build the UK's first Puff Cafe that doubles as a co-working space, a cultural space. Just come in, wherever you're from in the world, just come in, have some Puff, drink something nice, listen to some great music, and just chill with your friends, have meetings. That's what we want to do. So that's the next thing for us. We're working on that now. We're hoping to go out and raise some money so we can actually make this a reality. And for us, just on the flip side of that, it's not just about the commercial aspect. It's also the community, the social enterprise. We want to train people who are studying hospitality programs or food programs. They want to go into the food industry. We want them to come and work and learn in our own kitchen. Look, how do you make Puff? How do you grow this thing? And just gain some skills. We want to give back young people, looking for good work. We want to give them employment opportunities, particularly women as well. We want to make sure that people are earning enough. We're very big on the living wage. Yes. We pay the London living wage every time we hire people for events. So we want to create opportunities. We want to make it possible for people to just, learn something new, make Puff Puff and grow the business with us. And so yeah, that's our focus for the next, I don't know, 12 months.
I can see it. Like, I want to have my little coffee in the sunshine at Puff Puff Ministry. Like,
that sentence. I love that sentence. That's what we want to do.
That's great. Or have like a business meeting, or like you said, friends over.
Some Puff Puff. And it's not just going to be Puff Puff, because again, like even with our events, our mom makes meat pies as well. So we always sell her meat pies at the events. So it's not just going to be Puff Puff. It's going to be other vendors as well doing things that have a West African heritage, because that's ultimately that's the core for us. So but we want more people to come, different backgrounds, but it is all about the West African heritage. Even the events that we've run, we've invited other creators and makers from doing things with the West African heritage to come and sell. And so that's what we want to do. We want to make space for not just us, but for others who are doing interesting things with ideas from home, and just making that become prominent in the UK.
Yeah, the West African food and drink meetups that we've hosted.
Yes.
We invited businesses like Eco Brewery, so they make African craft beer. We had Chapman's of London, and we had an event in December, which was the West African Christmas meetup. And so we invited some West African owned brands to trade as well. So we had Big C Pots, they make shea butter. We had RME, they make like candles and lifestyle products. And again, it's just creating this space for people to come and experience and support West African-owned businesses. So when we do have this physical shop, like Yossie said, it's not just going to be a place to come and eat Puff Puff. It 100% will be, yes. But I'm imagining a world where, in the evenings we have live music, and you can eat some more small chops. Like, you can come and experience more West African snacks from the shelves, etc. So we just want to create this. And I think a lot of this comes from our granddad, actually, because we grew up in our granddad's house, just in the house next to his. He had this massive compound in where we lived in Surulere in Nigeria, and his house was just next door. And granddad would always have the best parties. Like, we would have big parties, like invite our whole street. No matter who you are, there is a bowl of rice for you. Like, come through, enjoy music. And so when I think about opening the UK's first Puff Puff dessert cafe, I just think about my granddad, everything that we've learned from being in that space and seeing how a physical space can make someone feel connected to home or just connected to something.
It goes beyond the food, doesn't it? You're capturing a spirit or an essence or a feeling or a memory. It's a community, which is so beautiful. And actually, talking about community, and your external community, how does the community between yourselves, because you're sisters, how does that community function in a business setting?
Oh, I love this question, actually. Yossie loves this question too, because she gets the chance to drag me through the mud. Oh no. No, but do you know what though? This question is so funny, and why we love being asked this is because we, as sisters, we're so close. There are 5 of us, and when we're all at university, we're all quite close in age as well. And so at university, if you're writing a dissertation, we're all going to sit around the table. Everyone has a chapter. We're reviewing it. So we've always worked really well together, always supported each other. So we knew each other as sisters. We didn't know each other as colleagues in the work setting, because we didn't work in the same companies, And so that was one of the most challenging things at the start, was coming in with different experiences in the workplace. And then I'm now having to see my sister as a colleague and not as Yossie, my sister.
Transition, isn't it?
Yeah, and I also then learned things about myself. For example, I can be very intense, and like they told me, they're like, Marianne, you can be a bit intense. You need to calm down, because just because this thing's a priority for you right now doesn't mean that it is for me, because I have other commitments that I need to attend to. So that was the biggest lesson for me, like working with my sisters, and also just coming to understand that, because I'm that person where, and I'm also, I think I've come a long way from being this person, but at the time, everything was urgent.
Right.
And that's just not a healthy way to approach work at all. You need to find that balance. And so I actually learned that through my sisters and through working in this business with them. So that's my response to that.
And Yossie, what would be your experience?
I mean, well, how do I top that? I think I definitely echo many of the things that Marianne has said, because, having a relationship as sisters is very different. When you're working together, you have deadlines, you have targets to meet. So we didn't have enough patience with each other. And I think what we had to learn was, okay, how do we make sure that we're working well together without, I guess, making other people feel bad? And so even things like giving feedback, like Marianne has also had to give me feedback, and I'm just like, okay, I don't like what she's saying, but fair enough, I did mess up. And the same thing with her. So I think it really taught us to think about how we communicate. Because I think as sisters, you can just kind of say, are you crazy? You know, like,
Yeah.
what is going on with you? Are you insane? But you can't really say that in a work setting. And so we've really had to think about how we talk to each other, you know, with respect, with compassion, with understanding for what everyone is going through. Like, and because of our personal situations, all very different, we've had to have moments where one person can commit as much in a particular time, so you know everyone else has to step up, and it's just being able to be understanding of that and be patient and just be kind to each other. And so I think that's what it's been for me, just being able to rely on my sisters when life is just too much and I can't do much. I know that, okay, well, it's fine, the sisters will step in, and vice versa as well. So I think that's been the big thing for me.
It's beautiful. That's a blessing, isn't it? I know some people say, oh, working with family or working with friends, it's always a bit contentious, but the blessing is like they can step in, they know you better than anybody else. Yeah. So there is always like the positive side of it, which is really lovely.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry. And just to add to that, like there are 5 of us, and my husband also actually comes from a family of 5. And he always says to me, I really love how you and your sisters just like come together and everyone is 100% committed to this. I'm like, okay, you know, so for someone who also comes from a large family to say, this is actually admirable to me. Like sometimes it's like, look, I wish I had this.
Yeah.
You know, they've got their own unique style, but he's like, the way you guys work together, that's something I actually really admire. So for me, that's also a big thing.
Yeah, that's actually so interesting because we've always been so close, we didn't realize that was quite a rare thing to have until people started saying to us, you guys are really close. I'm not this close to my siblings. Like, we talk every single day. We have a WhatsApp group, a Telegram group, Instagram group. Like, we're obsessed with each other. Like genuinely. Yeah. And one thing I always say to my sisters is I wouldn't want to run this business if I wasn't doing it with them. It just would not be the same at all. I wouldn't enjoy it at all. The reason I'm able to keep that energy going with Puff Puff Ministry is because I'm doing it with them.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like, I mean, wasn't it this week I woke up and I was like, randomly just texting you guys how much I love you. Like, I was suffering.
Miranda just woke up and she's like, or if the group chat is really quiet, she'd be like, guys, what's happening? Like, someone say something. And it's like, yeah, can you like back off? Like,
no,
like,
I'm so obsessed with her.
Yeah, she is obsessed with us, but yeah. But it's nice. It's nice to know that someone's obsessed.
It's beautiful. It really is. And you know, sisterhood is such an important thing, whether it's blood related or not. It's just that community which we keep talking about, but it is so important. So, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs looking to start a food business in the UK?
Do your research. Yeah, I mean, you need to do your research. It's not enough to just know how to cook or make something or create food or whatever. You need to know what all the different requirements you need to have as a business are. We knew that we had to be registered. We knew that we needed food hygiene. We did all those things, but we didn't know anything about insurance. We didn't know all the other things so, you know, just do your research. What exactly do I need to run a successful food business? Because if you don't have those things, when certain opportunities come, you're not ready. And so just do your research. You need to know, because food is a very tricky thing. You can get it wrong.
It's life or death.
Someone their life, right? Yeah. And so you need to make sure, even things like if someone has a nut allergy, how do you make their own box? You know, we need to
processes in place.
So you need to have all those things. We had to create safer food.
Yeah, safer food, better business.
So there's so many different
risk assessment, and these are things that when a company comes to you or for an event, if we want to go into an office to serve Puff Puff there, they ask us for these documents, so you need to have all of these.
So, and we didn't have it initially because someone asked us the first time, and they were like, "Oh crap, we don't have this," and so we had to make. So again, there even for us, there were things that we didn't have from day one. But if someone says, "Look, we want to have you come in, do you have this kind of insurance?" We're like, "Oh no." Can we keep people work together? Okay, yes, let's do that. So honestly, there's so many different parts. So just know what you're getting into.
Yeah, a lot of research and a lot of learning along the way, isn't it? And trial and error type of thing.
Yeah. So I'm going to give like a marketing, because I head up a lot of the marketing for Puff Puff Ministry.
Yeah.
So my response is going to be marketing related.
Please do, yeah.
I think my biggest piece of advice would be to have a story. Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that has really helped us with Puff Puff Ministry is our story. It's also the one thing that no one can take away from us. It's the reason why we're the best people to run the UK's first Puff Puff company, because it's in our blood.
Yeah.
It's quite, do get in our heritage. We've been through it. We've seen it all happen. So one thing, we do get a few DMs, people saying, "Oh, I want to start a Puff Puff business like yours. What do I need to know?" And my reaction to that is, you've done it wrong at that point.
Yeah.
Because what's better to do instead is to come and say, "Hey, I want to start a puff-puff business like yours or any food business. This is what I found out so far. This is what I've done. This is where I am. And then ask us where we can fill the gaps.
Right.
When you're just coming initially and saying, what do I need to know? That already then shows that lack of innovation and lack of research. Yeah. And I think that's one of the worst things you can start a business doing, is just not having that direction. Mm-hmm. So one of the biggest things, again, it's in the food industry, is so competitive, especially in the UK, especially in dessert. Lots of people are starting businesses selling cookies, cupcakes, etc. Anyone, and people always say to us sometimes when they see our pricing, they're like, it's just puff puff. Why would I pay that much for puff puff? My mom can make puff puff. Anyone can make puff puff. And yeah, it's true. Anyone can make puff puff. Maybe they can't make it as well as we can.
Right.
But also, regardless of the situation, anyone can make a brownie, a cookie. There's a recipe online. You can follow it. But why would someone part with their money to support your business? That's where your story comes in. That's where you're building that emotional connection.
Your USP, isn't it?
It's literally
who you are.
Exactly. Right. So one thing I would say is, it's okay if you want to start a cookie company and there are already 50 other cookie companies in your local area or in the city. That's fine. But you need to find, why are you starting that specific cookie company? Why should anyone care about your own cookie company over the other cookie company? So you really need to spend time thinking about that unique story and why you're doing that, and then go out there and then start sharing that with the world. And that's how you grow your business, is having that story.
Very wise words. Very wise words.
As you were saying that, I just remembered that goes back to our first. We registered the business in 2019 and we only launched in 2020 August. And that was because we spent, again, 1 full year doing that research. Why should people care about our puff puff? Why should people? How do we ship puff puff and make sure that when we get it in their house the next day, it's still as it was meant to be? Mm-hmm. So it was doing that research, but again, just understanding what makes us different. Why should people actually care about the product that we're bringing to the market? Because again, anyone can make puff puff, and I think within the first month of launching, I think we saw like 2 other businesses doing something similar to what we're doing, but it wasn't quite the same. Right. Because I don't think they had that core story that we had. Or I don't even think they had actually thought through the experience from making the puff puff to when the customer receives it. But we had, and that was in that 1 year of research. How do you ship? What kind of box do we need? Well, how do we need to make sure that, because you fry puff up, how do we need to make sure that when the customer gets it, it's not oily? So all those different things, we spent that 1 year just nailing
I want to give a special shout out to our sister, the youngest one actually, Fola.
Yep.
Fola is the brains behind that whole experience of receiving a box of puff puff. Shout out to Fola, because she was the one researching the box dimensions, the size, the experience of, okay, how do people open the box of puff puff? Is it like 2 sheets coming together and then you open as one, or should it come this way?
Right.
And till tomorrow, even though we're seeing more companies popping up selling puff puff, the one thing no one else has come close to doing is shipping puff puff across the country. And that's the thing that we started off doing. That's the hardest thing about it, and that's what Yossie is saying about the research, the process, the care, the innovation. How it's literally thinking about how is this box going to arrive to someone's house, and what is the experience of them opening a box of puff puff? Because we launched it as a gift option. It was lockdown. People wanted to send something to the family and friends. Mm-hmm. So what do you want them to feel when you get a box of puff puff in the post? You want to feel loved. You want to feel like wowed by it. And so we had to think about that in the packaging and how that's presented. And so I really do stand by everything you said about the innovation and the thinking. It never ends. We're constantly thinking about how can we improve the
to the end.
Process is everything.
Absolutely. I love that. We are coming to the end. But again, I like to ask a value. So I think you're going to tackle your value and you're going to tackle your professional value. So if we start with what your personal value is.
So my personal value is, it's a combination of faith and kindness. And faith because I just feel like you can't do anything, you can't make any step without just believing that there's a reason, there's a purpose for that step you're taking. And so everything I've ever done in my life, the good, the bad, well, mostly the good anyway. But like every decision, no, I'm going to scrap that and go back. Yeah, everything I've ever done in my life, every decision I've taken, it's always been faith saying, look, I can see myself there, I can see myself doing this, and I need to hold on to that faith so I can continue going. And even with the business, in everything I do in my professional work, do I have faith and belief in what I'm doing and where it's taking me? Yes. Okay, keep going. So that's what drives me.
Love that. And for you, Marianne?
That was very good.
That was very good.
So my professional, it's not quite a single word. It's actually more of a phrase. And so just for background context really quickly, we grew up, as Yossie mentioned, our parents were very entrepreneurial. And so our dad, like most, I think, Nigerian fathers, they care about education. They care about your career success and everything else. And so we're reading books like The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I was like 10 reading this book.
Like teens, like the teens one.
Oh, I mean, we're reading, okay, so they have 2, right? So this author called Stephen Covey, and he has this book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People / Highly Effective Teens. So they're 2 different books. And so one of the habits in the book that really resonated with me since I was 10 was it says, begin with the end in mind. And funny enough, when I was 10, obviously reading these books, I'm like, Dad, like, why are we reading these books? Like, this is just extra.
You had a plan.
I know, right? So, like, at the time, I was like, I didn't really care about reading that stuff. And funny enough, when I then became, I guess more established in my career, I realized that value really stuck with me. And I was using that throughout my entire career. And so for me, what it means to begin with the end in mind is to start with what your end goal is. And then you just start working your way backwards from there. If you know your end goal, you need to then know what steps do I need that will lead me there.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be a clear-cut plan. So in my professional career, for example, I kind of have what's called a squiggly career. I've jumped around quite a lot. And I used to think it was quite chaotic, but I actually realized that there was a common thread and it all made sense in the end. So I think as long as, similar to what you said about faith and having that vision, as long as you have that vision of what your end goal is, even though you might maybe take like a side road at some point, you will still end up there because you're working and operating from that standpoint. So in everything I do in my career, I'm always thinking about what is the end goal. And also, it doesn't matter how long it's going to take me to get there. I try not to be too driven by, I want to get there quickly, because that doesn't really, it's just actually stressful as well. I am also someone who very much believes in, being patient.
Yes.
It's nothing is like an overnight route to success. If anything, that's quite dangerous if you do find whatever that thing is.
Right.
Oftentimes it takes work and it takes time. So that's mine, is to begin with the end in mind.
Brilliant. And that's a wonderful place to end things. And again, it's just been so amazing talking to you and learning your story and the history and the legacy behind it all. And I just want to wish you so much success moving forward. And I will be there at the cafe in Covent Garden. So I'll be there. So if we want to follow your journey, where can we find you?
Puff Puff Ministry, at Puff Puff Ministry on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter, because we don't have enough characters for Puff Puff Ministry on Twitter, so it's just Puff Puff Minist. That's why we had to cut it off. And yeah, Yossie and I are also on LinkedIn if you want to connect with us.
Amazing. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining once again. And if you want to follow The Black Circle, we are on Instagram on theblackcircle.podcast and on YouTube on The Black Circle. Take care.